What's up, everybody? So here we go again. We are less than 2 hours away. We're on the highway, home stretch, if you will. Say about 110 miles outside of DC. Just got past my second accident on the highway here. And this guy in front of me almost rear-ended me. You know, it stopped pretty quick, and I almost pulled off the road, hoping I wasn't going to get hit, but luckily he didn't hit me, and everything is A-okay. So guys, here's the deal. You know, there are other actions going on. So it's not just going on in London. It's not just going on in DC. There's also actions taking place in New York City for Julian Assange today. That being said, if your city does not have an action for Assange, if your community does not have an action for Assange, you can take action for Assange. It really is up to us to spread this word, because let's be honest, the mainstream media ain't doing it, and the majority of the alternative media, and when I say majority, I just mean the biggest name out there, you know that. Everybody on there, did they talk about it today? It's 11 a.m. Eastern. Can anybody tell me? Bueller? No, they didn't. And that's why we've got to support like real independent media, okay? Robbie and Abby Martin of Media Roots are so important. They're still talking about this topic. 21st Century Wire, Patrick Henningsen, he's still talking about this topic. You know, Taylor Hudak, who literally has gotten into this just this year, 12 months, went from writing to vlogging to these vigils to now being in London right now taking action for Assange. Thumbs the video up, guys, if you're watching the ride along. If you got questions, we'll take them in there. But guys, seriously, it's so easy to print out a flyer and staple it to a telephone pole, to organize a documentary film sit in at your local church, community center, etc. Drive safe home, homie. Oh yeah, thank you, man. I'm trying. Believe me, I'm trying to do it as safe as I possibly can. DC's the jungle when I get in there. Pennsylvania highway doesn't bother me too much. In fact, Pennsylvania highway is so much better than a New York highway, just because there's so many cops in New York. Oh my God, you see police everywhere in New York, even in upstate. It's terrible. So talking about Assange, you know, I want to talk about some of the things he did prior to WikiLeaks, okay? Prior to WikiLeaks. Now, for those that don't know, he actually helped Australian authorities take down a child trafficking pedo ring. Yep, sure did. One of those things they don't like to tell you, okay? And when he was getting ready, apparently, according to Seymour Hersh, to start WikiLeaks, to launch everything, he had taken Hersh aside and said, here, you know, I've hacked the CIA, the FBI, the NSA, and we're going to start being like, you know, a public disclosure organization. And Hersh said, you know, he wanted nothing to do with him. He thought he was crazy, et cetera, et cetera. And I get that. You know, it's not by any means, you know, an easy path when you're taking on the establishment, especially in the manner that he is. You know, that's the thing. Like, can you imagine wanting to publicly disclose the world's most horrific crimes, and then you do it? You start to do it. You really do. And you start exposing the empire and the predator class. And you expose things like Abu Ghraib prison. You expose things like journalists being targeted and killed by U.S. troops. And what happens? Well, they somehow shift the narrative away from, we need to get out of Afghanistan, we need to get out of Iraq, we need to control the military-industrial complex, we need to hold warmongers accountable for telling us that there were weapons of mass destruction when there were none, to Vladimir Putin and Russian propaganda. Russia. And somehow, you know, 2020 is the new 1988. And I know a lot of you thought I was going to say 1984, and I guess you could use that too, but, you know, I wasn't even going with, you know, the Orwellian things that are going on, okay? it's because in the 80s there was still fear mongering on Russia. They were still the enemy. It wasn't really until the beginning of the 90s that you just even got a first taste of terrorism or Islamic terrorism. The first large event in the United States would be the first World Trade Center bombing and the Blind Sheik. And of course, with that one, you had Ahmad Salam, an Egyptian army officer, okay, recruited by FBI agents. At the time, Ahmad Salam was working in a hotel, gets recruited by FBI agents to infiltrate the Blind Sheik in his mosque, and then he gets commissioned to make a real bomb. Oh boy, what? What? Only 9 thumbs up. Thumbs the video up, guys. We're on the road. So he gets commissioned to make the bomb. At this point, he starts getting suspicious that he might be getting set up, because why in the hell would they want him to make a real bomb? Well, they got to show intent. A fake bomb doesn't show intent. What? No. A fake bomb shows that these guys that you were going after had no skill set to actually build an explosive device. So, as people know, the bomb did go off in the World Trade Center, and people died. 8 people died. And a lot more would have died had they parked the truck bomb up against the main column. Now, Ahmed Salam kind of went dark after that. There is a Playboy article, believe it or not, on Ahmed Salam after the 93 bombing. But other than that, I've been able to find no media whatsoever on that man. And I included the audio of him talking to his FBI handler about making the bomb and feeling bad that lives were lost. Can you imagine that you come in from a foreign nation, right? And you get recruited by their law enforcement, more than just the police, more than just the sheriff, but the FBI. Thumbs this video up, guys. And you think you're working with the good guys to take out the bad guys, and you get set up. And you get not only do you get set up, but you get set up to the tune that you cost people their lives. I don't know if I could live with myself. One of the things that I really do hope that happens throughout my life, I hope there is never a situation where I have to take another human being's life. Ever. And that's not to say I don't believe in self-defense, or I don't believe in the First Amendment and the Second Amendment and all that good stuff. Because, hey, the First and the Second, you see they don't have much of a First Amendment in China and what's going on there, right? Well, I'll tell you why they don't have much of a First Amendment. Because they don't have a second one either. They don't have the right to bear arms. They can't get out in the streets and stop the oppression, okay? And that's a scary, 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 scary thought. Scary, 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 scary thought. So I'm hoping, again, that you guys out there, it's 11 a.m. On the East Coast, that you're taking your little action for Assange, whether that be having a conversation with your family members, asking them if they know what's going on, putting them onto the counterintelligence report from the National Counterintelligence Report from 2020 to 2022 that now puts public disclosure organizations, leaktivists and hacktivists, leaktivists, not even a word, in the same line as ISIS, Al-Qaeda, Hezbollah, Iran, and more. Scary times. Scary times we are living in. So guys, once again, we are headed to DC right now on the road, and hopefully going to be there within the next 2 hours. Like I said, when I get into DC, and that's bearing that there's no more accidents on the way, it's going to be tough to find a place to park, but I really hope that I'm out in front of the White House by 1 p.m. Eastern, 1:30 at the latest, meeting up with Andrew, Steve, and Christy, of course, Taylor over in London. I'm sure right now if you go to Taylor Hudak's Twitter, there's probably a bunch of stuff, as she posted links to Julian Assange's father yesterday and him speaking out, and the lawyers talking about the courageousness of Assange and how his mind right now is sharper than it was when he was in court last, and that he's trying to look at every single angle he can to stop his extradition. And again, there is no leg to stand on an extradition. And those that think that there are superheroes on message boards, and Assange is somehow being brought here to take down the deep state. You're in fantasy world. You're in fantasy world. So I'm going to encourage everybody to get out there, take your actions today, and also put the pressure on InfoWars. Ask them why they're not covering this. Ask them why they're not covering the OPCW. Ask them how they feel about Trump signing off on the National Counterintelligence 2020 to 2022 report that I don't think they've even covered yet. Been covering it for over a week, you know? Unbelievable. Unbelievable. But they're tomorrow's news today. Please. Fucking pathetic. Love you guys. See you on the flip.